Hey everyone, welcome. Today we are unpacking one of the most absolutely fascinating predictive clashes in all of sports right now. In this explainer, we're looking ahead to the 2026 World Cup and taking a deep dive into an incredible piece of analysis from BBC Sport. It's a setup that literally pits the intuition of legendary football pundits against the cold, hard logic of supercomputers and AI. We're talking man versus machine on the biggest stage of them all. But before we get into the actual predictions, let's just take a second to truly understand the sheer magnitude of what's coming our way in 2026. 48. That's the magic number of teams competing. This is an entirely unprecedented expansion. Way up from the 32 teams we're normally used to seeing. This massive influx of nations is going to completely reshape the dynamics of the tournament, bringing in totally new styles of play and, of course, some fresh underdog stories. And because of that massive expansion, we are looking at a staggering 104 matches on the schedule. To put that into perspective for you, that is 40 more games than the previous World Cup. Pundits like Tony Pulis have even noted that while it's fantastic for the countries involved, it turns the entire tournament into an absolute marathon. Which brings us right to the time frame. 39 days of grueling competition. From the opening kickoff to the final whistle, these teams will be fighting off fatigue, managing massive squads, and enduring a physical toll that is, quite frankly, unmatched in the entire history of the sport. And finally, the number 3. This whole spectacle will be spread across 3 co-host nations spanning North America: Canada, Mexico, and the United States. So teams aren't just going to be battling each other on the pitch, they're going to be battling massive travel distances and wildly varying climates. So with this colossal stage fully set, who exactly is favored to lift the gold trophy? Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the pundits' top picks. So the BBC went out and polled a massive panel of their top TV and radio football pundits, we're talking absolute legends of the game, to get their aggregate predictions. And the result? An overwhelming consensus. It is a clear 2-horse race in the minds of the human experts. France is leading the pack with 9 votes from heavyweights like Alan Shearer and Olivier Giroud. England is right behind them with 7. But there's just one single lonely vote for Spain, and that came from Micah Richards. The vast majority of the experts are basically writing off the rest of the world to focus on France and England. But, even the big favorites have their question marks. This quote from Paul Robinson just brilliantly captures the main caveat humans have with the French squad. Their elite firepower is completely undeniable. I mean, bringing on world-class players late in games against tired legs and 30-degree heat? It's terrifying. But as Alan Shearer pointed out, because they have so much raw ability up front, 2 or 3 massive superstars are going to be left sitting on the bench every single game. The pundits all pretty much agree France will only win it if they can avoid in-house fighting and keep that dressing room harmonious. All right, Section 2. Can England win it all? Let's pivot to the other heavyweight in the pundits' eyes, England. Why do 7 different highly respected experts genuinely believe this is finally their year to bring it home? Well, we can look at England through a yes-but lens. Yes, they have massive strengths. They've got an elite manager now in Thomas Tuchel, who pundits like Sue Smith note absolutely knows how to win things and isn't afraid to make the tough calls. Plus, they have real attacking momentum from guys like Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice, along with a newfound big game mentality. But there are undeniable vulnerabilities here. Experts are sweating over a lack of game time for key defensive players like John Stones and Reece James. There's also a major concern, voiced by Danny Murphy, that the team is just way too reliant on Harry Kane to actually score the goals. And honestly, we cannot ignore the human element here. When experts make predictions, emotion definitely creeps in. Joe Hart flat out admits he just wants to back his people. Martin Keown literally said his head is telling him France is the best team, but his heart is screaming that it could be England. This clash between the head and the heart is exactly why human predictions are so fun. They factor in romance, hope, and loyalty, not just the raw data. And the harsh reality is, England's path to glory is brutal. Martin Keown highlighted that if things play out a certain way, England could face a last 16 tie against Mexico at the Azteca Stadium. That means battling severe altitude and the climate advantage of the hosts. Survive that? Well, then they likely face Argentina or Portugal in the semifinals. It is a terrifying gauntlet, for sure. Moving right along to Section 3, Scotland's path to knockouts. Let's shift focus to another home nation and manager Steve Clarke's critical mission to finally break out of the group stages. Scotland is staring down a pretty scary lineup in Group C. They face Brazil, one of the heavy tournament favorites, and Morocco, who were semi-finalists back in 2022. Because of this totally daunting dynamic, Pat Nevin insists that Scotland's opening match against Haiti is the absolute key to everything. They cannot start slow. As Nevin says, they have to hit the ground with an absolute sprint and secure those 3 points immediately. But listen, there is real optimism. The pundits actually believe Scotland is the strongest they've been since Steve Clarke took charge way back in 2019. Why? Because they're actually fully fit. Unlike the 2024 Euros, where they honestly looked exhausted, this time around the key players are rested. John McGinn is flying high, Scott McTominay is in extraordinary form, and of course, they will have the relentless, absolutely crazy backing of the Tartan army right behind them. Section 4. Dark Horses to Watch. Of course, a World Cup wouldn't really be a World Cup without the romance of the underdogs. The pundits highlighted several dark horses that could completely derail the favorites and cause some massive upsets. Thomas Frank loves Norway, pointing to the pure drive and hunger of Erling Haaland playing in his nation's first World Cup since 1998. Multiple experts pointed to Japan's technical excellence. Ecuador is heavily backed because of their incredibly tight defense and their natural preparation for that grueling humidity. Morocco is already a proven giant killer from 2022, and Paul Robinson even flagged Saudi Arabia, citing their really impressive Club World Cup pedigree. Which brings us to the climax. Section 5. What do the machines think? So we've heard from the legends, the former players, the managers. We know the humans heavily favor France and England. But what happens when we strip away the heart, the loyalty, and all that fear of dressing room drama? Well, we turn to Opta's supercomputer. This is a complex algorithm based on betting market odds and historical performance data. Opta simulated the 2026 World Cup a staggering 25,000 times. And the results? Spain is ranked first with a 16.1% chance of winning. France is second, England is third, and Argentina fourth. Remember our pundit vote earlier? Only Micah Richards, out of the entire BBC panel, picks Spain. But the supercomputer says they are the absolute mathematical favorites. No contest. And guys, it doesn't stop there. When the BBC asked Microsoft's Copilot AI to predict the tournament, the artificial intelligence entirely backed up the supercomputer. Copilot boldly predicts that Spain will win the trophy, England will fall in the semifinals, and unfortunately for the Tartan army, Scotland will exit in the group stage despite finishing third. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the core tension of our explainer today. On one side, you have human intuition. The pundits factor in squad harmony, the tactical nuances of a manager like Tuchel, and personal loyalty. They see France and England as the undisputed titans. But on the other side, you have the cold, hard algorithm. The machines don't care about dressing room drama or the roar of the crowd. They look at data, possession metrics, and historical odds, and they calculate that Spain's system is just mathematically superior. So as we look ahead to 39 days of grueling, spectacular football across North America, the stage is set for an incredible ideological battle. Will the nuanced, emotional, and experienced eye of the human pundit prevail? Or will the ruthless, data-driven calculation of the supercomputer be completely vindicated? Man or machine, who gets it right in 2026? I guess we'll just have to watch and find out. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.